Hello. This video is going to make you thousands. I'm going to go over how I negotiated a $30,000 raise from an initial offer and also helped my friend negotiate a $20,000 raise. Stay to the end of the video and I'll be going over the number one thing that held me back for years and will prevent any success of you ever even asking for a raise. If you are new to my channel, this channel is all about helping you upskill and land a job in tech. So go ahead and smash that like button. And here is a picture of a beautiful tulip. Before going into tips on how to negotiate a raise or a salary or an offer, first you have to understand how salaries work. There is always a range that a position can go for. This can vary depending on where you live, what location, what company, what position, what certificates you have, what degrees you have, and all of that sort. And when a company initially makes you an offer, they're going to give you the lower range amount. And it's up to you to negotiate a higher salary. The same company can pay a different amount for each city, so always make sure to look at that. For instance, at this job posting, you're going to see San Francisco, remote work, Austin, all have different salary requirements, depending of course on the cost of living. So let's get into the first tip for negotiating a higher salary. And the first one and most important one is always ask for more money than you expect to get. It gives you some negotiation room that you wouldn't have before. Say you ask for $100,000 and then they offer you $95,000. It gives you less negotiation room. Whereas if you ask for $120,000, they may actually give you $110,000. And some states do tell you the range and they're required to tell you, so always make sure to ask, what is the range of the salary? A reason to also ask for more money than you expect to get is because you're making assumptions on how much the range is for. You don't know his needs. You also don't really know his budget. Oftentimes, companies can make exceptions to put you over that highest salary. There is a maximum plausible option. So for instance, if you're going for a help desk role, your maximum plausible option may be around $100,000, depending on your location, of course. Say I want $300,000 for this help desk job. It may seem a little outrageous and actually kind of hurt your negotiation. So don't ask for too much over, but definitely ask for more than what you would accept for that position, as it gives you more room to negotiate. Next one is raise the bar in what you think a lot of money is. I was listening to people at a coffee shop the other day talk about their salaries and what they thought was a lot of money. And currently I live in Ohio and I used to live in Seattle. And the difference between what Seattle thinks is a lot of money versus what Ohio thinks is a lot of money is a huge gap. And the thing is if you think $80,000 is a lot of money, that's probably what you're going to ask for, even if that company can pay you $120,000 or $130,000 for the same position. And you might just get it. And I know a lot of people talk themselves out of this, like, oh, I don't need that money. That's an absurd amount of money. But just remember, like, that business is keeping that money and they could have been paying you that money, and it honestly probably wouldn't have hurt them at all because your salary is a tax deduction. My next tip on negotiating a higher salary is to never accept the first offer. In negotiation, when you accept the first offer too soon, almost kind of like a game, it was just too easy. And you may think, oh, well, I was just like eager. It could actually hurt you. And that is because of two reasons. The first reason being the employer could have thought, I could have done better. I should have offered them a lower salary because they may have taken it. The second thought is maybe something is wrong or they're desperate. Why did they accept this offer too soon? This makes no sense. If they are as skilled as I think they are, they should have more options, especially if you work in cybersecurity, cloud computing, IT. There are so many opportunities. Never accept the first offer. Always counter offer. And I know it's very tempting to accept the first offer, especially if you're really eager to start working in tech. But if you are getting an offer in the first place, just remember, like, you have passed all of those interviews and they want to hire you. They aren't going to say, no, we're not going to hire you because you asked for $20,000 more. Another really good tip when trying to negotiate your salary, don't form a picture of what the other party is thinking. For instance, people make a lot of assumptions that if they ask for like 120 for this position, they may get rejected and not get a job at all, or they may think that they're going to be laughed at, like, who are you to ask for that much money? And that imposter syndrome really comes out, which is why you need to know your number and how much you are worth, because it really just sets in stone. The next tip when negotiating your salary is never tell the recruiter how much money you make currently. You do not have to tell them how much money you make at your current salary. And the reason recruiters do this is because they're looking for data points. So say you make $85,000 at your current job and you tell the recruiter that you make $85,000, they're only going to give you like a $5,000 or $10,000 bump because they know that's what you're going to accept. Most people will not ask for a $30,000, $40,000 raise between jumps between jobs. I don't know why that is. Better answer when they ask you what your salary is you say the market rate place for someone with my skills is this amount. And you do that with research and numbers, and you stand still at that number and you don't budge. Another way to answer that question is just don't answer at all. You do not legally have to tell them how much you make. They are trying to lowball you. Don't forget that this is a negotiation game and your goal is to get at the higher range of the salary. The next tip when negotiating is don't be too eager, because they can smell that desperation and they could be like, this person really needs a job. And that is why they always say it's easier to find a job when you have a job. It's also easier to negotiate a higher salary when you already have a salary, because you don't appear too eager or desperate. Imagine if you were dating someone and they were too eager and too desperate to go on dates with you, and they were just like, I love you already, please marry me, I will take whatever you give me. And that type of energy is just kind of like a turnoff, not only for maybe your potential romantic partner, but also your employer, because it kind of like triggers thoughts like, why is this person so desperate to have a job? You know, it gives them second thoughts. And it's just like, well, maybe I could lowball them a little bit more. They'll probably accept anything that I give them. So never appear too eager, no matter how much that you want a job. The next tip when negotiating a salary is never accept a compromise without a trade-off. And I say this because they're always going to try to kind of lowball you or offer you less salary. And if they do that and they're just like, well, it's not in our budget to do this, you're like, well, maybe I could just get an extra 2 weeks of paid time off instead, as I know that your company doesn't have that amount of resources. Another thing you could also ask for if you get less salary is an equity within the company, but always ask for something if they're not able to meet you at your salary requirements. Don't just accept the first offer they give you. And on top of that, if they give you less money, ask for something like equity or a one-time bonus or more paid time off. My next tip when negotiating a salary is don't rely on just Glassdoor. So Glassdoor is extremely outdated and you could actually be asking for less than you deserve. And another thing it doesn't include like equity and bonuses and paid time off and what the health insurance plan looked like or anything of that sort. Glassdoor is maybe good to finding a few data points, but I would say it is not an accurate view of how much you should ask. There's a whole bunch of different websites that you can look at, but I would definitely do your due diligence depending on the type of position that you're trying to land a job in and then trying to negotiate an offer on. And now let's get into the number one thing that is going to prevent you from negotiating a higher salary, no matter how many tips and tricks that I give you. And the number one is a fear of rejection. And honestly, this comes from making an assumption of what that other person is thinking and doing, and making an assumption of how much your time is worth, and then also making an assumption of what you think a lot of money is for that position, because honestly, you don't really know unless you have a solid range that they give you. Napoleon once said, an unforgivable sin of a commander is to form a picture to assume that the enemy will act in a certain way. And this honestly goes for you. You think they're going to act in a certain way, you think that they might laugh at you or reject you or not give you it, or you may even think they will just redact their job offer altogether. But the answer is you're assuming what they would do, and the best way to mitigate this fear of rejection is don't take anything personally. Realize if they negotiate with you or they don't give you the salary that you want, that it's not a personal thing, it's a business thing. They're just playing the game of negotiation. A really good book to read is The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, and one of them is don't take anything personally, and the second agreement is don't make assumptions. Please check out that book. It could change your mindset about a lot of things, and you can negotiate a way higher raise because you realize that none of this is about you and it's all kind of just a game. Now, I'm not a counselor. However, that book has helped me out tremendously. This is not any type of advice for your mental health. I wish I could just tell you don't be afraid of getting rejected, and that would probably solve all of your problems. I hope this helped you. If you have any other questions, please leave a comment below, and I have tons of other videos on how to land a job in cybersecurity, cloud computing, IT, along with job help, like about interviews and resumes and all of that sort. You can check out my playlist, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.